So let's see if our next speaker can change your thinking or confirm your thinking. We asked Paulina Klotzbucher, who's the Chief Commercial Officer for Travelstart, to share her learnings about blockchain and how she's actually thinking about applying it to the African OTA business. So over to you, Paulina.
Good morning. So this is a small intro into how Travelstart dipped its toes into the world of payments and then later into blockchain. Firstly, a bit of context about who Travelstart are. We've been around since about 1998, which in terms of digital companies makes us a bit of an old lady. The Travelstart group contains multiple entities across multiple markets. So for example, there's Travelstart, a B2C OTA. Then there's Club Travel, which has two parts to it, a TMC for the corporate travel sector and a consolidator supporting over 400 ITCs. Then there's Safari Now, a B2C online hotel platform. And last but not least, Knightsbridge, a hotel PMS and channel manager. So not only do we play in multiple verticals, we also play in multiple markets, all the way from South Africa to Nigeria to the Middle East and several locations in between. And across all these verticals and all these markets, one thing remains consistent. Payments are complicated and expensive. Multi-party transactions, complicated recons, cross-border settlements, and the high cost of merchant acquiring are not the least of our problems. And when you look at these issues, it's easy to look at applying old tech and old solutions to these problems. However, if you take the plunge and explore blockchain and cryptocurrencies and its applications, you'll notice that it really addresses a significant part of the problems that are so inherent in our industry. This really is the new technological revolution. It's kind of like going back to 1998 and pondering whether Amazon is going to make it as a way to buy books online. So what is blockchain in simple terms? It's a way to record information that makes it difficult or impossible to change or cheat the system. It's effectively a digital ledger stored on a decentralized network. The main things are that it's secure, it's immutable, which means you can't ever change it, you can just add to it, and it's decentralized. So no entity controls the processing of the data, unless of course you go with a private blockchain, in which case you're in control. And by the way, that's the way that Travelstart decided to go. Blockchain technologies unlock some amazing tools that will help you solve issues that we all face. So the first one is smart contracts, and these are self-executing contracts where the terms of the agreement are directly written into the lines of the code which live on the blockchain. The code controls the execution, and transactions are tracked and completely irreversible. And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, I'm not going to get a developer to code every contract on the blockchain. But luckily, there are drag and drop tools available from guys like Cardano, allowing you to build these contracts without any coding knowledge or experience. These smart contracts can remove the middleman, reduce costs, and cut down on processing time. I mean, think about the applications in terms of airline contracting to track overrides and commissions, consolidator contracting and reporting real time, which is something we had a big issue with when in the Middle East, and corporate travel policy management, which can all be written onto a smart contract. Another area is digital identifications of corporations or individuals. The traditional identity systems are fragmented, insecure, and exclusive, so not everyone has access to all the information. Imagine a single view of a customer, something we've been talking about for decades, where one can manage and store identities in a unified and interoperable location that is completely tamper-proof. And think about the implications on things like your fraud systems, customer travel preferences, and the user experience online. Not to mention the fact that passports and the entire visa application process is going to have a major overhaul. And you can't talk about blockchain without talking about cryptocurrencies, which to all effects and purposes are virtual assets that are a medium of exchange or a store of value, as some people like to say. The difference is that they are out of the control of governments and financial institutions, which, contrary to what it sounds like, is actually a good thing. Frequent flyer miles, though dating back to 1979, are in fact a type of cryptocurrency, one can say. The technology that powers Bitcoin and other smaller alternative coins is the same technology that will allow you to launch your own token and your own reward program. And these tools are all available on different blockchains. If you're in doubt about the power of cryptocurrencies, all you have to do is try and make 2 international transfers this weekend. 1 traditional and 1 with cryptocurrencies. There is no bigger personal proof to convince you of the power of the solution. I mean, it's insane that we still think it's okay for payments to be restricted to working days. It's insane to think that it's acceptable that in some cases we can pay 20% for an international transfer. So yeah, that's an experiment, do it, and yeah, it's going to convince you. Lastly, there's a lot of noise around NFTs or non-fungible tokens, and everyone thinks that this refers to funky memes being sold at, you know, exorbitant prices online. However, that's just a proof of concept, you know, pretty much background hum. What an NFT really is a way of authenticating digital assets. It's a unit of data stored on the database that certifies a digital asset to be unique and therefore interchangeable. So NFTs can be used to represent photos, images, audios, any content, contracts. It's effectively a giant digital notary stamp saying that this is the real thing. And I love talking about the topic. It's kind of like exploring a new world where there are endless possibilities. This world is moving so fast and it's such a crazy pace that it's really hard to keep up with all the changes, especially if you're not like Generation X. These challenges, though, there are many challenges though that you'll face when you start going down this road. Firstly, your VC may think that you're on drugs, especially when you start prattling on about collecting flight revenue in exchange for Bitcoins. The recent market crashes won't help you with this. You know, I would suggest in that case, instead of, you know, going the low road and arguing that, in fact, you know, cryptocurrencies are the best performing assets in the history of mankind. Instead, maybe you can, you know, go the safer route and go with stable coins. Alternatively, you can actually avoid this altogether. Remember, this is but one of the areas that is an opportunity open to you from blockchain. So even if you decide to accept cryptocurrencies as a form of payment, remember it's still not a widely accepted medium of exchange. The benefits are definitely there for travelers. You know, for example, they'll circumvent the costs of currency conversion, ATM withdrawal fees, transaction fees, fraud risks that come with international card usage. But unfortunately, it's not going to give you the travel party massive volumes yet. What you may find also another challenge is that your management team might not really have that much buy-in, and they might prefer to go with more tried and tested ways of doing things. But remember, you don't have to go full retard on this. You can have a look at exploring areas where you can leverage these technologies while mitigating the risk. For example, storing the full life cycle of a booking on a private blockchain which will allow you to track changes, reduce disputes, and if you integrate with some partners, it'll also allow you to ensure that the revenues are maximized. For example, imagine if you change or extend your stay at a hotel, usually those, you don't get commissions on those extended nights, or alternatively, if you buy bags or upgrade your seats on a flight, you might not get commission from that from the airline as well. But with the blockchain, you'll have a full view of the entire experience end to end, and you'll know exactly how much commissions you've earned. So that is a much safer way to kind of approach this, rather than, you know, going full throttle with like moving your entire stack onto the blockchain. You can also struggle with resources, because people who know what they're talking about are really hard to find, especially in the development space. But luckily, there are more and more development teams specializing in this area. And many of the larger blockchains like Ethereum, and specifically for Africa, Cardano, provide support and advice, and as of course they want to grow adoption on their blockchains, and they often have teams that will kind of handhold you and support you throughout the process, give you advice, and also don't underestimate how much of an attraction this is for you in terms of getting talent on board when you increase your cool factor by incorporating blockchain in your development kind of stack. Another one is standardization for flight integrations. If you recall, used to be a massive issue back in the day before OTA structures were developed, and frankly, even after. Well, they'll face pretty much the same challenges now with blockchains. And although blockchain serves as a base technology, companies, organizations, everyone can create their own networks and can include their own algorithms, making communication between different systems a bit complicated. And then lastly, justifying the ROI. I remember just adding blockchain won't give you an ROI. It's a technology just like GCP and has just as much hype as big data a few years ago. At Travelstart, it was easy for us to go like full in, but we decided to take a much more conservative approach. We focused on smart contracting and on storing the full transaction record on a private blockchain for the purposes of traceability, reconciliation, and authentication. Think about the problem you're trying to solve, and then basically see if you can solve it with these new technologies. I think you'll be really surprised at, you know, some of the solutions and innovative ideas that you can come up with.